Okay. One. Day five. 5 days. Uh, 5 days. Like week one, I had a lot of work today, so just jumping to get something, to learn something new, answer some questions, dive into homeostasis. Oh yeah, what I realized last time, right? That's clearly not realized, but it was very evident to me that there is two primary system in the body, in the organism, particularly in humans and many others, of course, for information communication. There is a fast one, and it uses neurons, right? Neurotransmitters. And there's a slow one, the hormone one. And that's going to be very important when we're going to simulate cell division, cell body. We're going to create a whole simulation of growing organism in a lab. But before doing it in Petri dish, we're gonna do it in with AI or without AI. We'll see. We're definitely gonna do it on the computer in simulation. And those two channels of communications are important. One of them for something that needs a quick reaction, like react to the threat or react to the threat. Probably the biggest reaction, right? To something else. Cannot come up with anything else, but the hormone is interesting. That's basically overall, slowly body tells or regulate itself. Like, hey, we need to grow, or hey, we need to slow down or develop more macrophages, right? It's very interesting. But what's even more interesting that hormones, from my understanding today, and this is only day 5, actually passing information through the same channel. Imagine like protocol where you're supposed to go like packets from like one computer to another one, and then you decide to go to also send it, mix up with different packets to a different destination. So, and all that balance, now I can easily see how you can basically create this balance by just going like extremes into, for example, fasting, right? You don't eat for a couple of days, like there is so many hormones will be thrown in your blood, and then you just eat a lot, and different hormones will be thrown, and then you don't eat it. Like those extremes are basically sending a mixed signals into same channel. It's very interesting. Like it's fascinating. I can't wait to start simulating it. Probably next weekend. That's what we're gonna do. Yeah, I promised to read this research. Some of the macrophages research was interesting, and I found out that the blood transfusion, like young blood, quote unquote, right? It actually has some stuff that's actually good for older people, all the animals. Oh yeah, one more thing, the AI totally screwed me up in terms of the biggest cells. Remember this one? Where is the big cell question? Yeah, this one. I asked this question and it was like, that's what is the biggest cells and what's preventing it to get bigger? The first one, ostrich egg yolk, a single cell about 15 centimeter across. I think that was a total bullshit. Like this was AI hallucination or stuff. Or maybe it was the most probable answer. Remember, AI is just statistical machine. The more people saying something on internet, the more likely it will give you. Right? So most likely majority of people think and talking on internet in YouTube comments that ostrich egg yolk is actually a single cell. I think you lied to me about this. Hello, check. Second. You were right to push back, and I owe you a correction. No, I mean, this is fine. Like, this is innocent error, but imagine you just take AI and, like, okay, AI just gonna invent a drug and, like, push a button. Like, mistake like this will kill someone. And it's not gonna be funny anymore. I was slappy with my word. What I get wrong? I said ostrich egg yolk is single cell about 15 centimeter. It's that's imprecise in a couple of ways. It's the whole unfertilized egg cell, the ovum, not specifically the yolk. The yolk is essentially the cytoplasm of the giant cell. But the cell also includes a membrane around it, calling it the yolk. It's common, short-handed, but not quite accurate. Which is a non-cellular accessory structure. Organisms are only 15 centimeter across, and that the actual single-cell yolk portion is smaller than full eggs, roughly. I still don't think that's right. The largest single cell known today by weight is the ostrich ovum, about. Okay, the correct version. Hmm. Are you sure? Are you sure? Oh my god, they just keep. Exactly. Like, I should be more careful about claiming the yolk is the single cell. Looking at the source, the frame is a bit smarter than it presents. Some source says the yolk is the largest single cell that exists today. Me of we're not even gonna click on those sources. It represents the largest single cell by volume in the animal kingdom. Strictly speaking, the ovums is again. So to give you the most, now I'm so confused. I actually gonna ask this question. Oh, you can click your reply. That's cool. I never tried that before. Anyway, let's go into questions. I like those questions. Question 15. What is homeostasis, even rough guess. Um, I think it's some kind of state of cell or organism. Um, I don't know what's that state represent, but is a state like the bears going into their sleep in the wintertime. So they in a state, they alive, they're not dead, but their heart rate slow down and all body activity and metabolism slow down significantly. So homeostasis also is a state, but I don't remember what state is it. Let's see. Hibernation, yeah, come on. Or more precisely, torpor. Oh, thank you for precision. Torpor. Homeostasis is something different. Yeah, it is different. The process of keeping internal conditions stable despite changes in the external environment. The word comes from Greek hemo, same, status, standing, literally staying the same. Yoho, so it's a blood, cold-blooded animals. They not under homeostasis because their temperature depends on the environment. Oh, by the way, I remember a story that I think it's snake depends of the temperature, like 36 degree or 38 degrees. When they lay eggs, depends on the environment temperature, it will be male or female. I want to double check that. So cold-blooded animals are not in homeostasis, I guess. So your body temperature is 37, whether it's freezing outside or boiling hot. Your blood sugar stays in a narrow range, insulin, right? Whether you just eat a cake or haven't eaten in 12 hours. Your blood pH stays between, oh, I didn't know that. My blood has a pH, stays between 735 and 745. That's such a small margin, no matter what. That's homeostasis. Thousands of feedback loops constantly adjusting to maintain stability. That's what I was talking about. Hormones, like feedback loops, but with hormones, it's probably like a little bit way crazier, of course. The programming analogy might click for you. Homeostasis is a control loop. It didn't click. Essentially, a thermostat pattern. Such a bad analogy. I mean, maybe it's good, but it's not clicking for me. I'm not clickable, I guess. It's not a clickbait. Sensor detects a deviation from the set point. Controller trigger response. Effector correct. Yeah, I know how the thermostat. Your entire body is hundreds of these loops run in parallel. Example: too hot, sweat, blood vessels dilate, cool down, blood sugar too high, pancreas release insulin, cell absorb glucose, sugar drops. CO2 too high in blood, brain tells lungs to breathe faster, CO2 expel. I love this example. When hemisphere fail, you get the why it's even giving me 0 1 disease, yeah. Diabetes and familial glucose. Oh, I'm dropping. What is the photosynthesis? What goes in the what comes out? Photosynthesis, it's a process for plants, I believe, to generate the energy from the sun, from the sunlight. And I believe it's done by chlorophylls. It's special element in the cell, organelle in the cell of plants, chromophiles, something like that. And what goes in and what comes out. So the photons, I believe, goes in. Also CO2 goes in, and O2 comes out, and some kind of, I would say, carbon created, maybe even sugar. That was literally explained to me in a 6th grade in the biology. How old I was? 6th grade, it's 14 years old, 15 years old. No, earlier, 13 years old. I'm 40 now, so it's 27 years ago. Interesting. Yeah, perfect. Damn. Is it gonna give me 1 point, or is it gonna be like just, yeah? Process plants used to generate energy from sunlight. Correct. Chloroplast. Correct. That's the organelles. Chlorophyll is the green pigment inside the chloroplast. Oh, right. There is green, there is can be white. That actually absorbs the light. You name both. Chloroplast is a factory. Chlorophyll is a specific machine on the factory floor that catches photons. Photons goes in, correct. Light energy is the power source, correct. CO2 goes in, correct. O2 comes out, correct. This is where essentially all the oxygen in your atmosphere came from, correct? Sugar is created. Damn, I was right about sugar. Nice. Specifically glucose. I did not know about that. So it is a glucose. Great. So if CO if CO2 comes in, there is 6C, 6O. Where is hydrogen comes from? I guess water. You hesitate on this, but UNC was right. The overall equation roughly. Oh yeah. Damn. CO2 plus H2O plus sunlight, glucose plus O2. Mm. Um, Thank you, Anna Petrovna, my teacher for biology in the 6th grade. The one input you miss is water. Plants pull water up through their roots, and the oxygen they release from the molecule from the near symmetry works now noticing photosynthesis is reverse of the process happening in your mitochondria. Mitochondria takes glucose O2 and produce CO2 plus HO2 plus energy. We do, produce HO2. Plants do the opposite. The whole biosphere is basically these two reactions cycling back and forth. Plants build sugar from sunlight, animals burn that sugar for energy. Exhale CO2, plants recapture it, a loop. I love this. But I have a question now. What? I missed water, you give me... Oh, come on. I have a question. That's a physics question, but I have to check. And I'm so confused about it, and now I'm gonna publicly ask. So I don't understand the one things when fission happen, energy released. So something falls apart, energy release. Okay. But when fusion happen, something get together, I would assume you need to spend the energy. But when fusion happen, energy release too. So it doesn't matter if it fall apart or getting together, it always release energy. That sounds like a broken energy conservation law. Let's see. I love this stuff. Like it's basically fix my grammar as I speak. I don't know, like broken English, and it's translated beautifully. That sounds like it breaks the law of conservation of energy. Yeah, I didn't say that, but that's what I meant. I hope with AI, I hope we're not gonna become like people in the movie Idiocracy. The people who cannot speak, cannot spell, don't know how to do anything. I hope not. Great question. It's one of those physics puzzles that actually makes sense once you see the trick. Okay, show me the trick. And no, it doesn't break conservation. Here's what's really going on. The key insight is that fusion, fission, and fusion don't both release energy for all elements. Oh, each one only release energy in specific range of the periodic table. And these are single underlying rules that explain both. The rule: every nucleus has a binding energy per nuclei. Every nucleus has a binding energy per nuclei. So that's where the no, think of nucleus as a bunch of protons and neutrons. Nucleus held together. The binding energy per nucleon tell you how tight each particle is bound. Higher equal more stable. Higher equal more stable equal lower energy state. If you plot this for all elements, you get a curve that rises steeply from hydrogen peaks around iron 56 and nickel 62, and then slowly falls toward uranium. Iron is the most stable nucleus in the universe. Oh, nothing can get iron? Fusion releases energy only when you combine light nuclear, hydrogen, and helium to make something closer to iron. You're moving up the curve towards more stability. Fission releases energy only when you split heavy nuclide, uranium or plutonium, into medium-sized pieces closer to the. You're almost moving up the curve towards more stability. Both processes release energy because both move the system towards iron. So if the iron was stable, why universe not started from iron? Okay, I'm going deep in the physics, but this is good. I just need to see that curve. I need to see the curve. Single most important chart in nuclear fusion. Let's do it. Is it creating like HTML? Can I just find the image on the internet? Hmm. Hydrogen, helium? I don't know. Lithium, helium right here. Uh, I really thought the chart would be like this. So where is the iron? This one. Everyone want to go up. Thank you. Still also I forgot what is organic compound, which is formed consistent linear. Oh, I remember lipids. Lipids are membrane made from lipids, and they have a head and two lines. I forget the name of the line. Let's go. What is the enzyme and why do cells need them? Enzyme. This is, I remember now, this is a catalyst for all chemical reaction. Without enzymes, the reaction would take like 100 years. I mean, not 100, but a very long time. And with enzyme, it speed up those reactions. And I believe some enzyme made from protein. Okay, give me one, give me clean and correct. My first one. Catalysis for chemical reaction, correct. Speed up reaction, correct. Enzyme can accelerate it by a factor of millions to trillions. Damn. Not good chemistry teacher. It would never explain why. It was just like, do this, do that, do that. Or maybe I was like bad listener, but in other classes, I was like really good. And chemistry was not good and not interesting. And I'm not gonna blame myself. I think there is a way to make chemistry interesting. Like you can fascinate people by it. There is so different angle to look into that, like enzyme catalysis. Like, would you do your homework for 3 years, or with catalysis you can do it like in 3 hours? So, what would be catalysis for homework? AI, hello, it can do all your 3 years homework in 3 hours. I mean, terrible example, right? Because it doesn't convert to state. It's just different tool. Yeah. Yeah, terrible example. It just matches the time. A reaction that would take thousands of happens milliseconds. That's interesting. Like with one, some are made from protein. Almost all are. The vast majority of the enzyme is protein. There are few made of RNA called ribozyme. Ribozyme. I think those are ribosomes, ribozyme,
Ribozymes.
ribozymes. But some enzyme they made. But when someone says enzymes, they mean protein 99% of that. So you caution some is technically relevant, but you say safely the enzymes are protein. Two details worth adding: how they work. Enzymes have a specific shape and active site. This fits a specific molecule, the substrate, like a lock and key, or more accurately, like a glove and that adjusted to the hand. This shape uh, this shapes specifically is why enzymes are picky. Each enzyme catalyzes one reaction or one type of reaction. Lactase break down lactose. DNA polymers builds DNA. They are specialized, trying to read properly. They aren't consumed. Unlike fuel, an enzyme isn't used up. It binds, does a job, releases the product, and goes back to the next one. One enzyme molecule can process thousands of reactions per second. This is why cells only need small quantities of each enzyme. That's interesting. I didn't know it's 1,000 operations per second. So it's kind of, it's not a transport level, right? Maybe it is because it's enabling. So it's kind of like taking HTTP requests and writing into the database. Terrible example. I'm 02 today. Why does this matter for everything else you learn? Almost every process we have discussed, DNA replication, transcription, translation, glycolysis, glycolysis,
Glycolysis.
glycolysis,
Glycolysis.
glycolysis. Photosynthesis is driven by specific settings that they are machinery that makes that central dogma actually run. Central dogma actually run. Proteins is the blueprint flow, but enzymes are doing the physical work at every. Oh, come on. 58. What is the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration? Whoa. I think aerobic, that's when you do it by expand your lungs and sucking air in. And anaerobic respiration, that's when you hooked up to the machine and it's pushing air into you. That's a wild guess. I don't know. Totally different things from breathing mechanism. Aerobic and anaerobic refer to the where oxygen is used in the process of breaking down glucose for energy. Then the prefix tells you everything: aero, air, oxygen, and without. Aerobic respiration, breaking down glucose with oxygen. This is what your mitochondria do. It's actually efficient. One glucose molecule yields roughly 36-38 ATPs. This is your default energy mode when you are breathing normally. Thank you, mitochondria. This is what happened in your inner membrane. But I didn't see the sugar. Anaerobic respiration breaks down glucose without oxygen, much less efficient, only 2 ATP per glucose. Wow, but it's fast and doesn't need oxygen, so it kicks in when demand exceed oxygen supply. Interesting. So we can breathe underwater. We don't have to breathe underwater, right? We just gonna have 2 ATP per glucose. So if you fight enough, and you have ketones, your mitochondria can produce 2 ATPs per glucose. you can pretty much lose a lot of weight if you're not going to breathe underwater. That's a new way to lose weight. Joking. I'm joking, of course. When you'd experience this personally, sprint as hard as you can for 30 seconds. Your muscle outpace your lungs' ability to deliver oxygen, so cells switch to anaerobic mode. They byproduct in humans is lactic acid. The byproduct in humans is lactic acid. That's the burn you feel in your muscles during intense exercise. You are literally running your cells without oxygen and accumulating waste. And that's what triggers signal for cells to build more mitochondria. The famous example, fermentation, is a type of anaerobic respiration. Yeast breaks down sugar without oxygen and produce ethanol. Alcohol plus CO2 instead of lactic acid. That's how beer, wine, and bread works. Same principle, no oxygen. Partial glucose breakdown, different waste product depends on the organism. So we produce not ethanol, we produce lactic acid. So aerobic versus anaerobic has nothing to do with mechanical. Zero. That's good. 55. What is a chromosome and how does it relate to DNA? All I know is just has a X and Y chromosome for different sex, for different gender. That's probably what I'm gonna say. Cannot come up with anything else. A chromosome is just DNA package for transport. That's it. Here's the problem. Chromosomes solve. The DNA in one human cell is about 2 meters long. If you stretch it out, it needs to fit inside the nucleus. That's about 6 micrometers across. That's like stuffing 40 kilometers of thread into tennis ball. So the cell wraps DNA around spool-like proteins called histones. Coils. Those coils into tighter coils, and the result is compact, manageable bundle chromosome.
Stated Clearly presents what that DNA is. Scientists have labeled the gene as a lot for something. What does a gene code for? Usually a protein or a group of proteins, though there are a few exceptions. In multicelled creatures like ourselves, proteins, which are coded for by genes, interact with other proteins and molecules to make up living cells. Cells make up tissues, tissues make up organs, and organs ultimately make up entire living creatures. Individuals have different traits, in this case, differences or its function, or mutations can change when or 3 terms, and by the way, feel free to pause the video. A chromosome is an entire chain of DNA along with a group of stabilizing proteins. You may have seen images showing DNA trapped inside a chromosome, sort of like this. This is not how chromosomes hold their DNA. If you were to unravel a chromosome, you would see that it's made of a thread, sort of like a spool of yarn. Zoom in again and you'll see that that fiber is a collection of protein orbs called histones, which are wrapped with a string-like structure. Zoom in on that string and you'll find that this is the chain of DNA. It is extremely long, millions of nucleotides long, and often contains hundreds of genes along its length. In this image, we're looking at a chromosome in its condensed, yarn-like form, but chromosomes are only packaged tightly like this when a cell is reproducing. This structure helps with durability as the cell is splitting in two. For most of a cell's life, however, chromosomes exist in a loose, noodle-like structure along with other chromosomes safe inside the nucleus.
I did not know that. I thought it always existed those like bow structure.
Or centerpiece of a cell. Here is a photograph of an entire set of human chromosomes taken from a cell right as it was getting ready to reproduce. Your genome, the entire collection of genes that help make you who you are written across 23 pairs of chromosomes. That's 46 altogether. With very few exceptions, each cell in your body contains its own full copy of your chromosomes, your entire genetic code. Eyeball cells only use the eyeball cell genes, the rest are turned off. Liver cells only use liver cell genes, the rest are turned off, and so on for each cell type. One member of each pair of your chromosomes came from your mother, the other came from your father. If you were to examine the two individuals of a pair, you'd find that for the most part, both contain the exact same genes in the exact same locations. If you were to zoom into the actual genetic code, however, you would find slight sequence variations between them. These
So those variations, that's, I would say, what? Epigenetics then? Or it can be turned on and off by enzyme.
are the results of mutations.
Oh, mutations. Interesting.
Most of these mutations happened long ago and have been passed down from parent to child for many generations. Others, however, are completely unique to you. These mutations occurred either in the sperm or egg, which fused to make you, or they occurred early on in your development, making it into all or many of your cells as you matured. These unique mutations represent brand new genetic information.
Every sperm has from 50 to 200 unique mutations. Interesting. I didn't know that. And I think that's a lot.
Sequences of DNA that may have never been seen before in the history of the cosmos. So, to sum things up, what exactly is a chromosome? A chromosome is an entire chain of DNA along with a group of stabilizing proteins. Humans typically have 23 pairs of chromosomes in each of their cells. That's 46 altogether. In your body, one member of each pair came from your father, the other from your mother. For most of a cell's life, chromosomes exist in a loose, noodle-like structure. Chromosomes are copied and then condensed like spools of yarn for durability when a cell prepares to reproduce by splitting in two. I'm John Perry, and that is a chromosome.
Thank you, John Perry. 46. Repository. Humans have 46 repositories. Your entire code base is chromosome is one repository. Humans have a repository. That's a good example. This is good programming analogy. You get 23 from your mother and 23 from your father. And in one of the repositories, we have 50 to 200 mutations. Every new organization who clones your code. Yeah, let's do that. Like when you clone or when you fork a repository, let's do a mutation. For shit and giggles and see what's happened. See what survive. Maybe that's how we're gonna do it. Actually, right? We're gonna write a call. We're gonna write the signals. Then the whole repository will be cloned, self-cloned, and mutate. It's gonna be a lot of that generation. Interesting. Because if we mutate one symbol, most likely we have to mutate the binary code and see what's not gonna work. So if we have a 3 billions of pairs, then 50 to 200 mutations out of 3 billions is 0.00001%. If we're gonna have only, I don't know, 1,000 instructions in our code base for organism simulation and programming language, and we will introduce mutation, we have to do it 0. Like definitely not 50, not even 1. We have to do math in it. But that would be interesting what will survive. What I'm wondering, if not what will survive, but if any of the mutation would be actually beneficial. So DNA is the molecular itself, the long string AT. So when we say 23 chromosomes, so it's not one molecule. It's actually split into 23, into 46 parts, right? Gene is a segment of DNA that codes for one protein. Chromosome is a big chunk of DNA packaged up, contains many genes. Genome, all your chromosomes together, all your DNA, all your genes. Think of it: genome, chromosome, genes, nucleotides. Zooming in each library, book, chapter, letter. Nucleotypes, that's A, T, T, G, A, T, G, C, and T is for you. We are halfway, oh yeah, and we are 50% of it. Strong evolution, ecosystem, photosynthesis, cancer, immune logic, enzyme, mitochondria, weak, molecular vocabulary, cell structure, biochemistry, categories, respiration type. Yeah, the aerobic and anaerobic, not the anaerobic. Aerobic and anaerobic. What's thrown me actually the word respiration. And respiration is basically breakdown, right? Glucose for energy. What is the virus? Is it alive? Yes, it's alive. I think virus is a single cell organism. Yes, it's definitely alive, but the interesting part about a virus, it cannot replicate by its own. So what it does, it's actually get inside of the cell, like different cell or organism cell, get itself in through the membrane by binding to the correct protein, I guess, to create a gate for itself. So the virus or virus go into human cell, for example, and then hijack its machinery to reproduce its own DNA. So from my new accumulated knowledge, it's hijack or use enzymes to replicate its own DNA many, many times, like hundreds, maybe thousand. And then when cell finally die, and obviously use all the energy, when cell die and explode, it release many, many copy of virus into the rest of the cells or into the blood. And I think I was explaining it on a example of malaria.